everybody, welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Now you may have noticed that Board Game Breakfast is a day late, and I apologize about that. That's because I was sick yesterday. Also, if you notice as I try to smile, that part of my face is not working, and I already know my face is pretty gruesome as it is, and so there's nothing I can do about it though. I figured that some Board Game Breakfast would be better than no Board Game Breakfast. Well, anyhow, guys, we have lots of great things lined up for you from our contributors and such today. Anyhow, we didn't do a live Q&A yesterday, so we'll do one today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come in there. Maybe I'll have Z join me for that Q&A. Anyhow, let's get to everything. First, the news. Well, first of all, let's start with some Dice Tower news. We're going to have some new shirts up on the website very soon. You'll be able to pre-order them and then order them. One with the Board Game Blender logo on and one with the Board Game Breakfast logo on it. So those will be coming soon. Also, the events went up live for Gen Con on Sunday, and it looks like our live show, which we had room for 500 people, sold out within an hour or two, which is mind-boggling to me and also sad because that means some people probably want to come who cannot. If you want to come, and many people have asked me about this, then what I would recommend is buy some generic tickets and come, and maybe some of those people who got tickets aren't able to make it, and then you'll be able to come to the show. It's a while away yet, and maybe some people will give up their tickets, so just keep an eye on that. All right, obviously the biggest board game news in the world right now is the Spiel des Jahres nominees were announced. Now, the Spiel des Jahres is an award in Germany which is for the best, well, they say the best game, but it's a game based for families. So you're never going to see very super high-level strategic games on it. They also aren't big promoters of conflict, and even you very rarely will see a two-player game make the list, although some good two-player games made the recommended list. The Spiel des Jahres nominees were Colt Express, Machi Koro, and The Game, which if you're a geek, you just lost. Now, we were talking about this on Friday, like what games are people going to pick, and it's just Machi Koro is one I didn't think about because it's a couple years, but just came out in Germany. And to me, it's the slam dunk. I don't see how Machi Koro cannot win. It's like a simplified Settlers. It goes over very popular with people. Colt Express is really neat, and I like it, but it's a little bit fiddly, so I don't think that one will win. And The Game, well, that's the worst name for a game yet. But I don't know, it's a cooperative game, and Hanabi won, so maybe this will follow in Hanabi's footsteps, but my money would be on Machi Koro. I don't know much about the children's games for the Kinderspiel, but then they have the Kennerspiel, which is a more strategic games, and that's evidenced by the fact that Orleans and Elysium and Room Service. I haven't played Room Service, but I played Elysium and Orleans. In fact, both are currently in my collection because I think they're fine, great games. This is one of the most attuned I've been to this award in a while, so that's pretty neat. You can find all the awards and the recommended list on the website, and they'll be announcing the winners later on this summer. Okay, AEG had their contest for It's Your Fault expansion for Smash Up this past week, and the four factions are Sharks, Superheroes, Greek Myth, and Dragons. Greek mythology and dragons, and that's okay. Cowboys didn't make it. Cowboys went up against Shark, and Mike Selinker ran a campaign on his Kickstarter for people to vote for Sharks. I have to say, I think that it doesn't really matter to me. I'm pretty sure they're going to make all these factions at some point. But I don't like the way AEG did it, because what they did is, first of all, voting was only up for a day for each one. So if you were sick or anything happened, you wouldn't be able to vote. It seems kind of an odd way to do it. And they put them together like in tournament style, which seems odd because it'd be two that I really liked, and I would have to vote one away, and then two that I didn't care so much for, but I had to pick one of them to vote forward. I don't know why they didn't list them all, and then we voted for our four favorites. But who knows? Certainly we'll see all the factions, and I'll get my Cowboys at some point. Let's see here. Passport and Pegasus are working together, so you'll see Passport bringing several Pegasus games. Grog Island and Hospital Rush are some of the ones that are coming to the U.S. Rio has a bunch of games coming up. Mogul is one that I'm excited about, a little auction-style game. I don't keep many little games from the past in my collection, but Mogul is one I have. It's kind of like a little share-style game that has a little bit of the same mechanisms as No Thanks does. Fantasy Flight has announced their World Championships for different things like X-Wing. That's November 4th to the 8th. The new faction for Imperial Settlers was announced by Portal Games, the Atlanteans. That's a pretty cool faction. It was really neat to see. I'm glad they added that. And 5 Tries wasn't nominated for any of the awards in the Spiel des Jahres. Oh well. Hey, today we have a question from one of our listeners who said, do you go back and play games and reevaluate games? And he was talking about a reviewer, right? Like, you review games, you go back and replay it. But I thought it'd be good to talk about this just from a play standpoint. Are there games that you played and you hated them? And then later on someone said, come on, it's really fun. And you went back and played and you're like, oh, that's pretty good. Or the opposite, games that you loved. And then you went back and played it later on and you're like, oh, I can't believe I like this game.
Usually I can tell if I like a game on the first play. And I'm pretty much a hot and cold, either I love the game or I absolutely hate the game. Actually, no, once in a while I might say there's a game that's lukewarm, but in general I play a game and I'm like, love it, want to play it again, and that was I could care less about playing it again. There is games where you guys have got me to play it a few times. Libertalia, I absolutely hated the first time I played it, and played it a second time, liked it a little more, still don't love it, but I didn't hate it as much as I hated it the first time, so I guess I improved my rating if we're talking about improving how you feel about a game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. When I play a game, almost always, now not always, but I would say at least 99% of the time, my first opinion of a game will not change. And I have gone back and played games that have soured for me over the years. Like, I played them 20 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I liked it when I was 18, but now that I'm 38, yeah. Okay, but that I think is more me changing than the game changing. So that can happen. But very rarely have I gone back to an older game like, I never liked that, and like, oh, now I love it. That almost never changes.
Me either. But and I'm trying to think of games that I love that now I don't like. I don't know, because once I love a game, I just love it, and I could pull it out anytime and play it.
Well, I'm saying there are some games that I loved, and then I went back and played them later on. I mean, well, just for example, I loved a lot of, I loved Monopoly when I was a kid. I don't love it now.
Okay, I agree. And Talisman's another one. When I was in college,
that.
No, when I was in college, I don't know why my group loved Talisman, and we used to play Talisman all the time. It's a terrible game, but at the time it was like, yay, we're adventuring and we're building up points. And then you realize, wow, this is a terrible game.
In our opinion. All right. So anyhow, yeah. So I mean, it's hard, and the fact is, there's so many great new games coming out that it would be hard for you to talk me into retrying an older game that I did not like, when I would rather just go try a new game that I might like.
Or find that you do like.
Ha. I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Thanks for questions. Ask them to us at dicetower@gmail.com.
You fool! You think you can take me down? I've already beaten you before. Your fancy new clothes will do nothing. You are mine. 1, 2, 3. Just warming up.
I got 2 hits and a block. Counter block.
You must reroll your feet.
I will reroll my pain. Eat! I shall roll one more. Oh, table to the face. Crush you. 3 points.
I will do 1 and hit you with the table.
Table to the head. That hurts. That gives me a headache.
We'll table slam you.
Oh, 3. That gives me another headache.
You should always have a headache.
That's for headaches for reals.
Take some protein powder. Build some muscle.
Here, do it again. Shut up.
So I roll. A table slam for 3.
This gives me a headache. I need to get some medications. He's got to use a table to hit me in the head. Once is one thing, but if he's got to hit me in the head 3 times, I mean, like, what's the deal with all that? I don't. It's like, I mean, good grief. You get a different move. It's like.
going to take a look at another game tray, but this one's from a new company called Game Trays, and that's with a Z at the end. But this is unlike any other game trays that you might have seen. This one here was custom made for Euphoria, and if you'll notice, it looks like a vacuum sealed game tray, complete with lid. That's because it is. It's a plastic game tray, but the plastic pieces all come out. So you have your different components here for Euphoria, and you can pull all these components out. You have spots for other things. You have different things here, and each of these has, you can see how there's the dip. So to get these out, you just press like that, and they come right out. And the cards are the same way. You just push down, and they come out. All the cards have the wells in like that. And then you can take out these different pieces if you want to, or you might just want these on the board. Now, these are really great. They don't have a ton of games yet. They have a really cool dice tray, which I'm dying to see. And they're going to be running a Kickstarter to get another machine, I think, at some point, so that they can have more of these. The only negative thing about these is I did the shake test with this. And the shake test was essentially where I kind of shook everything up in here. And I mean, I like closed the box and shook it, and some of these pieces fall. It wasn't as tight as I had hoped that it would be, but I mean, you probably shouldn't be shaking your games anyway. But that would be the only negative thing I found about it. I know they make one for Splendor, for Eclipse, for Brewcrafters, and obviously for Euphoria. So check them out. That's Game Trays.
As a young man, I lived in Germany for an extended period of time. I remember one Christmas where a friend of ours got a gift from his family in Frankfurt. It was this new, exciting board game full of cunning play and strategy, something that I'd never seen before. Little did I know how much that game would change my life. Until I got absolutely sick of it and refused to ever play it again. Klaus Teuber's superlative Settlers of Catan is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. And they keep finding new and different ways to expand it. They've even found a way to make it dark and gritty. So we here at Whitleypedia wanted to take a moment to reflect. Now, there are plenty of things to say about Settlers, plenty of things that smarter, better people will probably say this year or already have, but we just wanted to mention a couple items. It has entered pop culture in a way that no other board game has, except since maybe Hungry Hungry Hippos.
A hungry, hungry hippo!
It's been parodied or referenced on shows like 30 Rock, Parks and Recreation, and even The Big Bang Theory.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's this? 7 contiguous segments giving me longest road?
Do either of you fellas have wood? I don't understand the laughter.
See, it's funny because the studio laughter tells you it is. Why is Settlers so good and enduringly popular? Well, there are a lot of things. But what Settlers does best is to create a game experience where it is always your turn. Even when it's somebody else's turn, you still have the chance to collect resources and participate in negotiations. You don't see a lot of people complaining about analysis paralysis and that there's too much downtime in Settlers. In fact, if every game were as good as Settlers, we could eliminate analysis paralysis as we know it in our time. So happy birthday, Settlers. Next week we'll discuss some ways in which maybe the game doesn't work as well as it could.
So what can you expect to see from the Dice Tower this week? Well, I'm going to be taking a look at a lot of smaller games, but one of the ones that I'm really excited about is the Age of Ultron expansion for the Dice Masters, which is one of my favorite games, and I got several others, including the brand new version of Tigris and Euphrates. So that's pretty cool from Fantasy Flight Games, and we'll be talking about more of those. We'll also talk about games on our audio podcast. If you've never listened to the Dice Tower, not just watched us, but if you've never listened, check that out. We put one out every Tuesday, and Eric Summer, my co-host, and I, we talk all about different games. And in fact, some people have said, what if I want to hear just an audio of this and I don't have time to watch the video? Well, for that, go to dicetoweraudio.com. I don't update it as much as I should, but it does get updated in different various videos. Their audio you can find there. All sorts of other stuff, tons of videos and things are being uploaded and will be uploaded this week to Dice Tower. Okay, let's move on.
Chaz,
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, reminding you that if you pay as close attention to every single solitary video that I release as I'm assuming that you do, then you will recall that I recently spoke about my experiences with collectible card games, or CCGs. Specifically, I spoke about the constant compulsive card accumulation that was my experience with Magic the Gathering. But after phasing myself out of Magic, I decided to avoid collectible card games for a while completely. That's one of the reasons why Deadlands Doomtown flew under my radar when it was first released as a CCG back in 1998. But Deadlands Doomtown was recently resurrected, re-envisioned, and re-released as Doomtown Reloaded. And this revised version of the game comes in an all-new format. That's right, no longer is it a collectible card game, but is now a living card game.
It's alive!
A living card game, or LCG, abandons the CCG's concept of card rarities, replacing the blind buying of booster packs with a fixed card pool, which is provided in full with the game. Additional card sets are still introduced over time, but again, all the cards in each individual set are also made available, instead of being distributed through random blind booster packs. The LCG approach allows players to create customized decks in an ever-evolving environment without the need to track down and shell out over $150 for a rare Tarmogoyf. So, with the advent of LCGs, everything's great now and there's no more questions, right? Right. Actually, no. There's one more question I have, which is, when is the right time to jump into an LCG? Too early, and there may not be enough cards in the card pool for the variety that's desired when designing a deck. But wait too long, and there can be so many card choices that you may not even know where to begin. Well, since I asked, returning to Doomtown Reloaded as an example, as of the time of this recording, its base set plus 4 expansions have been released. And to me, I feel like its card pool is just now reaching a desirable minimum card pool size. Of course, your mileage may vary. Speaking of you, what's your experience with LCGs? Are you even comfortable diving into one? Or do their evolving card pools make them too much of a moving target to even get involved with?
Alright, we have some expansions to talk about, some great expansions, and the first one is for the Bezier game Suburbia Incorporated. This was a small expansion. In fact, it came shrink wrapped. You just open it up and stuck it in your box for Suburbia, which is, hey, what all expansions should do, right? But anyhow, Suburbia Incorporated added some big long tiles instead of the hexes that were in the original game, like a military base or an amusement park or the beach or whatever. And it added some weird ways that your city could be built. But to me, it added a lot of flavor and a lot of just interesting ways to build the city out. I was very happy with this one. Then we have the Builder expansion for Empires, or Age of Empires, or Empire's Age of Discovery, whichever version you might have, which was a great game. But what the Builders expansion did was it gave you more buildings, so that the same buildings weren't in every game, which was pretty critical because you could be counting on certain buildings showing up. Now you wouldn't. And it also gave each player a starting power, so you differentiated between the English, the French, and the Spanish, and so on. And I like that, and obviously it was good enough that it was included when the game was kickstarted later on. It just comes in the game now, which I think was what it should have done to begin with. Then we have First and Goal, the teams. First and Goal is a fun game. You roll dice, I roll dice. First we pick a card. First we pick 2 cards, and we compare them to each other. And that shows us what dice we're rolling. And that's it. You pick your play. I'm doing a running play, you're doing a blitz, I'm doing a long pass, etc. But when you added the teams, there was different dice. My passing die might be better. My defensive die might be better. A minor thing, but it made the game, in my opinion, so much more fun. I love it when you add the teams in First and Goal. Then we have the Switzerland map for Ticket to Ride. This isn't the first map I've talked about for Ticket to Ride, but Switzerland's one of the ones I've played more than most of the maps because it's a really great 2 or 3 player game map version for Ticket to Ride. It's tight, it's tough, it has a heavy emphasis on tickets. I mean, extremely heavy emphasis on tickets. It's one of the few games where I've drawn a whole pile of tickets before I even had a chance to complete them, and just constantly fighting each other to get different spots on the board. A very cool, kind of vicious expansion for Ticket to Ride. And then we have Anarchy, which was a small expansion for Revolution. Came in a bag. This is actually the second expansion for Revolution. The first one was fine, but this one added another player color, which is not worth it really. But it added ways and new spaces to the board. The first expansion for Revolution, I said I'll never play without it. Then I got Anarchy, and it kind of replaced it, because Anarchy allows you to kind of go after players a little bit more, not just in a bidding, but in taking different spots on the board. And I like that. Just a bit of a take that, add it to the game of Revolution was very fun, and I'll never play Revolution without it, which means it's a great expansion. Come back next week, and we'll talk about some more.
Hey gamers, welcome back to the bakery. My name's Doug, the Board Game Baker, and today we're going to try to make a game with an ice cream cone. Game concepts can come from almost anywhere. You should look in your everyday life, things you know, things you see, things you love, things you're interested in. Look for situations that are unique, that are fun, and that are interesting. Those make good fodder for a game. We probably do not need another zombie shotgun game, so take that one off the list. But the sky is the limit. I'm looking at you, Mixed Pickles. One of the other things that I've been thinking about, or let me say three of the things that I've been thinking about concept-wise, I saw a show on combine harvesters where combine harvesters actually compete for contracts as they harvest wheat and hay going north to south in the United States during the harvesting season. I thought that might provide some interesting player interaction during a gameplay. So that's one concept. Another concept that I saw when I was having ice cream with my sons. They were trying to lick their cones on a hot day when the ice cream was melting on their hands, and I thought that would be fun as well. Try to make sure a little bit of a racing game, maybe a lighter game, but something that would be interesting. And then the last idea that I've got boiling around in my head that we'll actually go forward with is a concept about factory building, logistics, supply chains, and ultimately gaining market share and competing with your fellow game players. So that's the prototype we're actually going to go forward with. If you get a chance, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Board Game Baker. Board Game Baker without any spaces, because I'm trying to save the planet one space at a time. Catch you later.
Hello, welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Imperial Assault, and there may be some spoilers in the visuals, so if that's going to upset you, just fast forward through the segment or close your eyes, you'll be fine. I recently completed my very first campaign of Imperial Assault. We started back in January, we finished up just a few days ago in early May. Now, I like so much about Imperial Assault. I love the Star Wars theme, of course, that's amazing. But I also love the combat system, the dice, I love how you can use the surges and the blocks. Now, I really like this game, but there's a problem that my friends and I encountered as we're playing through the campaign, and that was, after a while, it kind of felt like most of the missions seemed a little samey. It kind of felt like we were doing the same thing over and over again, and that was kind of disappointing. So, while I'm glad I did the campaign game, there was a lot of fun and some surprises and a neat story along the way, I was a little disappointed with it, quite frankly. But what I find is, the opposite is true when it comes to the skirmish game. The more I play the head-on-head skirmish game, the more I like it, the more I love it. I'm really getting into the skirmish games and the various scenarios, particularly some of the new ones that come with the ally packs. I really, really enjoy the skirmish games. So my question for all of you out there who play Imperial Assault, both the campaign and the skirmish games, is, what do you like better, the campaign game or the skirmish game, and why? I want to know. So leave a comment, I guess. This is the Discriminating Gamer saying adieu.
Somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know.
Hi, Suzanne here, this week's featured board game app. Who doesn't love a great abstract game? Okay, maybe a lot of you. But Ingenious is one of those games that seems to get a lot of love from board gamers of all types. Let's take a quick look at the app version of this enduring Knizia game. A classic puzzle game from the prolific Reiner Knizia, Ingenious has simple mechanics using tiles with symbols on them. You want to place tiles so you complete lines of connected symbols. Simple enough. But Ingenious uses a scoring trick I personally enjoy, in which final scores are based on the symbol you have the lowest score in. So you have to balance all of your symbols, making sure you're aware of what your opponent's scores are and looking for ways to block them while maximizing your own plays. Ingenious has been out for iOS since December 2009 and was developed by USM, the same group who brought us Catan and Kahuna ports. And I have to say, although it was undoubtedly a slick production 4 years ago, the app does show its age, if in no other way than it's not a universal app. And while there is an app for both Android and iOS, the feature implementation is slightly different. iOS offers online play through Game Center, while Android doesn't seem to have that feature yet. The look of the app is polished, and there's a tutorial that'll teach you the rules and interface. Pass and play is done well, but where the app really shines is that there are 3 different modes of solo play. You can play against the 3 different AIs, which do offer varying difficulty, but there's also a solitaire variant and a really nifty tournament mode that lets you play escalating challenges. My single biggest complaint about the app is that the controls aren't tuned. For some reason, taps aren't detected well, so to place a piece, I find I sometimes need to keep on tapping it. Best case, it's annoying. Worst case, it can cause you to accidentally misplace a piece. While Ingenious is an imperfect port, it does provide a good, if somewhat fiddly, solo play experience. If you enjoy the game in real life or are looking for a new abstract for your device, give it a try.
So this past weekend, Mad Men ended its reign on American television. Well, I guess not the reign, because not everyone watched it, but a lot of people liked watching it. And a lot of shows have come to their conclusion, or at least their season ending. And there's always people who will say this show is the greatest show ever, but there are so many people who often say this show is great until season 3, and then I kept watching, and I kept watching. And there are people today, we have the term hate watch. Which is where people will watch something and they just hate it. But they watch it because they want to like it, but they hate it anyway. And they get online and they complain about it and they talk to everyone and they just can't stand it. But yet they can't tear their eyes away from it. I think Glee might have gone into that territory near the end, and other TV shows. And one critic I read also said that they hope watched, which was where they watched a show hoping it would get better. Okay, maybe now they'll finally tie everything together in a good ending, Lost writers. I hope that they will do something. And I just thought it was interesting, the different things. And I think that can be brought into the gaming arena. Do you hate game or do you hope game? Have you ever played a game and you really didn't like it, but you were determined you were going to finish it because you were going to point out every single thing that you hated about this game? You were going to make sure that you hated it because it might get good later on, but probably not. Hate gaming. Or hope gaming, where you play a game that's bad and you're like, okay, it's probably going to kick in soon. Maybe in a minute, a little bit we'll understand it. Let's play it one more time. Maybe we were just missing something. Let's try one more time. Maybe the cards came up wrong. That whole hope gaming thing. And I think there's a difference, and maybe it's a difference in the personality. Some people going to a game assuming they won't like it, and then they grudgingly go, not bad. Other people go in like, okay, it could get, it's bad, but it might be good. Come on, let's give it another chance. Which one of those people are you? When you play those games you hate, are you like ready to just jump on them all over in the dirt? You want to make sure you hate it, you play it to make sure you dislike it. I never really understood that philosophy, like, hey, well, I don't like this game, we played it 3 or 4 times, I still don't like it, let's play it again to make sure I don't like it. Okay, that's fine. My grandmother used to do that with Chinese restaurants. She would go to a restaurant, she hated it, she'd go back 3 months later just to make sure she still didn't like it. Okay, thanks, Grandma. Maybe that's what people do with gaming too. Or maybe they keep gaming hoping that they will see what those who like the game see something in it. Me, I just pass on by. There's plenty of other games in the sea that I'm willing to play. But maybe you think opposite. Do you hate game? Do you hope game? Let me know in the comments.
In a previous episode, we talked about one of the most important sets of people at your board game cafe, the staff. And in this episode of How to Snakes, we're going to talk about the other most important group of people, your customers. At Snakes and Lattes, when it comes to gaming habits, we get 4 basic types of customers. Number 1, the hobby gamers. It's people like you and me, people who really love games and know what they're looking for. They're here to try before they buy, or they're here to be surrounded by a group of like-minded individuals all enjoying games out in public. This makes up, I would say, about 10% of our current customer base. Type number 2 is the almost hobby gamer. They've played things like Settlers, Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride, the classic gateway games, and they are ready to explore more games. This makes up probably about 20% of our customer base, and we love these people because our gurus really get to strut our stuff and expose these people to new types of games. Type 3 is the might be a hobby gamer. These are people who haven't yet experienced the gateway games, but if introduced to them in the right way, could turn into Type 2 and eventually become Type 1. This is a major chunk of our population. Probably about 30% of our customers are these people. The last type are the never-be gamers. These are the people who don't play games. They haven't played since they were kids. They don't like games. They were dragged here by a corporate group or by their girlfriend or their boyfriend. They're just not into what we do here. These people are probably only going to want to play the stuff they already know, Monopoly, Taboo, that sort of thing. If you are a serious gamer, let us know in the comments below or tweet us at Snakes and Lattes what would get you into your local board game cafe. Whether it's a Snakes and Lattes or some other kind, what would it take to make you interested in enjoying this kind of fun? Don't forget, send your questions to AskSnakes@snakesandlattes.com.
Well, that's it for this week. Later on this week, I'm going to have a tooth operation, and hopefully that will help me smile a little bit better here, or at least talk. I mean, this is hurt just to go through Board Game Breakfast here, but that's okay. Who cares about any of that? Guys, it is great. We are 2 weeks away from Origins, okay? On our website in a few days, we're going to put up the schedule of what we're going to be and where we'll be at Origins, so come by and say hello to us. I'll talk a little bit more about it in the next couple weeks, but right now, it's time to get out and game. Go, shoot.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.